It's Spoilerin time, the show where myself and Brian Brushwood talk through the shows we've watched. Our other show, Cordkillers, teaches you how to watch things, where to watch things, what to watch. This is the show where we get to talk about the stuff we watched. Isn't that why you watch it? So you can hang out with your friends and chat about it? Well, that's what we're going to do now. Brian and I are going to talk about Extras, episode 4 of season 2, Preacher episode 6 and 7 of season 4, because we did have a day off last week, and the Righteous Gemstones, episodes 102 through 104. And of course, as I said, I'm Tom Merritt. With me, my good friend Brian Brushwood.
Hello, beautiful people. But everybody wants to know who's going to win the summer movie draft.
Spoiler me.
It Chapter 2 needed to outperform It Chapter 1 in order for John Trekker to overtake Sword and Laser with a $200 million lead after It Chapter 2 comes out, with a fairly disappointing, I would imagine, $91 million opening weekend, below expectations. I mean, obviously, I don't think anybody's crying into their $100 bills at 91
It's not disappointing. Million. In fact, I've seen a lot of headlines like It Chapter 2, cleans up with 91 million, but they were talking about $100 million, $120 million opening weekend, and that is far off of that.
And if the star power added to the It franchise, there was a credible case to be made that it could do better than the first one, but obviously that did not
absolutely
happen.
I was very worried. My thought was it's just got to be under 120, right? It's just got to stay under 120. I'm sure it can be close to 100, but I had when I saw 91. I had to go find another couple sources to make sure, like, really, because that sounded too good to be true. And it's not over yet. I mean, anything could possibly happen. We've got till October 4th for this to play out. So maybe there'll be a $91 million second week next week, and we'll be eating my words. But that seems unlikely at this point. And I will hold to what I said months and months ago, before The Lion King even came out, that I was going to win this movie draft. Veronica and I, were going to win this movie draft on the backs of The Lion King because it was going to make bank, and it made $529 million, still racking up a couple million here and there.
Well, you're not kidding. Also, over at the Chout Realm League on the top 10 right now, Neo Phoenix Fire is still in number 1. Yet again, another year, Tom, where only one person seems poised to hold on to the number 1 spot.
It's amazing how often that happens. It seems so unlikely, but that's well done, Neo Phoenix Fire, for picking The Lion King.
Yeah.
And that's the news. The news.
Oh no, I thought you were gonna go. We have a date.
Right.
We have a date.
No, let me tell you a story. The other day, we were driving home. Eileen and I, we were out at an art show. Man, we were being fancy. And I think it was a Friday evening. And we were talking about I was like, that winter movie draft's going to come up, commish. We're going to need a slate from you. So I send a little note to Bryce and Eileen just to remind us, like, hey, we should probably talk about the winter movie draft soon. Next thing I know, I've gone to sleep that night, and I wake up the next morning, and my wife has just knocked out an entire proposed slate. Now, I know we haven't finalized it or anything, but I was like, damn, that girl works hard. She works quick, and she worked well.
And it's close. I think we only need to take off a few. We only do 30 movies in a season, so I think we need to take a few off there. But otherwise, we're pretty good. We got most of the people on the coming winter draft are either automatically going to be in it or have confirmed. So it'll be good. That's going to be September 23rd here after Spoilerin time, live on the channel and then on the feeds and all. So keep an eye out.
So that's twitch.tv/Night Attack. That's where you can find all that.
That's right.
Solo. We have to go solo.
It's solos.
Yeah.
Now I know what that feeling is when you've won the summer and you want to keep your team together.
I know. Well, yeah.
You don't get to.
Instead,
I think I will know that. I shouldn't count my chickens.
Well,
friends become enemies all of a sudden.
That's right.
Looking forward to it, though. September 23rd, you say?
That's right.
All right. We will be there. You should be there too, folks. Let's talk about the Righteous Gemstones, which, Brian, every week I love it more. Every week I just see something in it that I'm like, oh my gosh, that absolutely reminds me of a youth group I went to at the Free Methodist Church in Greenville, Illinois, or some Catholic youth organization thing at my own church that I went to. Like, it's just so not in the details, but in the spirit, in the feeling, capturing it, and then telling a hilarious story with twists and turns that are fun and surprising and delightful.
Yeah, they're definitely building out a whole universe, and it's certainly. I'm going to say the word parody, but that's going to be overly simplistic. It's going to sound like it doesn't feel like they have an axe to grind with any of it. Somehow they manage to convey the heart of the practicality of bringing the Lord to, folks in Midwestern America. I don't feel like it's any kind of indictment against religion or organized religion or even the people that they're representing. It's the characters who are the buffoons and the caricatures.
I mean, it's certainly a caricature, right? It's not trying to say this is what it's like, but it draws so many real moments and yes, it exaggerates them for comedic effect. I feel like you're right. This is just saying, hey, let's take a thing that happens and let's exaggerate it. I mean, that's what all good comedies do, right? There were no real friends like the friends in Friends. No bar is like Cheers, but I feel like it's that level of comedy. Granted, it's HBO, so it goes, way over the top and what those, primetime shows could do. But I don't even care about the plot or how they're going to steal the money, how the kid's going to steal the money from the dad. I'm just along for the ride.
Yeah. So did we not talk about episode 102? Have we only talked about the first episode so far? Okay. So we're sort of smelling out the pattern on this, which is a fine pattern. Big twist at the end. At the end of episode 1, big twist was, you got the running over of people possibly killing them or whatever. A big twist at the end of 102 that all of us saw coming was that one of the criminals, working with the stunt coordinator was Gideon, who comes home. End of episode 3, we get introduced to Walton Goggins' character, who Walton Goggins is great, and maybe his character will grow on me, but so far he's the one I'm least impressed with because as we were talking before on the Weird Things podcast, if everybody else feels like an amalgam, like a general spirit of a character, whereas just aesthetically, he looks like they very deliberately went straight for Billy Graham with the way he looks and dresses or whatever. But again, he's got room to grow. But of course, the end of episode 103 ends with it's implied that that the team that's trashing the church is hired by Walton Goggins himself, although he has to hide that because Father Gemstone pulls out a gun and sends everybody home naked. He has to act like it's not him. And then,
I didn't catch that.
No. I in fact, I'm pretty sure that the team was hired by the rival preacher,
Johnny Sessions. That's what they said. But if you look at Walton Goggins, you got some sideways glances and some you guys do run away, and it's like I got the strong impression
he was not maybe feeling it. He did seem to want out.
Correct.
But he was also he was scared for his life in a way that makes that I don't know.
Maybe it's worth looking at that again, and we'll see if anybody in the chat room agrees. But I got the impression that they weren't revealing it yet, but that he had hired the guys himself. I thought they hinted
the stuff that after John Goodman shows up could imply that, but before that they're shooting right at him. Like, I don't know. I'm not sure I buy it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll see where that goes. But at any rate, at the end of episode 4, we get another big twist with, what's his name? Danny McBride sees the van again, and inside is his son getting high with the stunt guy. And I loved in episode 4 the doublespeak language between Danny McBride and his wife, where she's very interested in her position of authority and power and would rather do some verbal jujitsu to remain in that place and not have to hear about any ungodly things that he's up to. And you could see them playing this dancing game, and then all of that sort of breaks down when she watches him chase down a car. It crashes. He pulls out a gun and goes to the woods to hunt them down. Like, you could see on her face, like, I can't tell what I'm seeing. It looks like it's trying to be dawning horror, but really it's more a dawning horror that she's being like you're not playing the game, and now you're getting real close to just looking like a thug.
My take on this is that she, like many people, is willing to fit the facts to her preconceived notion of how the world should work, which is that her husband doesn't fool around and doesn't sin. And so there's a little bit of slight relief whenever she can confidently say, like, no, that doesn't have to mean that. Right. And this is a situation where I took it as like, wow, this is going to be a real challenge to fit into my framework. Like, I'm not sure. The dawning horror, if there is a dawning horror, is that, like, could this be the first time that my framework on the world doesn't allow me to fit the facts in? Not even that she's upset at him yet.
Right.
I think that follows, right?
Yeah, no, I think there's definitely something to that. But it just keeps getting better and better. And I love everything that I'm seeing from it. It's become my favorite thing to watch every week.
I wouldn't be shocked if the upshot of this is that she comes up with a brilliant way to rationalize what's going on, right? I wouldn't be, because you're led to believe, like, well, she has to have the scales fall from her eyes now, right? She has to see what's really going on. He pulled a white gun and he ran off in the woods, and it's going to be Gideon. And, like, how does this get covered up? The way I look at the Righteous Gemstones, I'm like, I can't wait to see how this gets covered up and how it's rationalized.
Well, and then
this seems like an impossible situation.
I mean, all of a sudden it's like after the fact, well, then I saw you run off with our gun, and I realized that you wanted to protect them from the wild animals out there.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, something like that.
We just do car pranks.
Car pranks.
Me and my buddies, we do car pranks. It flipped 10 times. Oh, so good.
I did love getting a chance to genuinely see Adam Devine's character shine as the youth pastor, where it's like he did it. Like, he's been a punching bag and a punch line up until this point, but damned if they didn't send him into the belly of the beast. Also, they made Satanism look real cool. And then,
oh my gosh, the dance number of the Satanists to tempt him earlier before that was just amazing.
Coincidentally, just a few days before, I think it was like the 10-year anniversary of the Techno Viking video, and they very much mimicked those exact dance moves that the Techno Viking did.
Oh, that's awesome.
If you're familiar with that classic meme. But it definitely looks like they were riffing on this stuff. But it's great. I enjoyed seeing Adam Devine's character do well. I should learn the characters' names.
Adam Devine's character would be the one that is named Kelvin.
Kelvin, of course.
Yeah. Also, Edie Patterson is a national treasure.
Yep.
She hasn't got as much screen time as I would like, but every time she does, note perfect.
It's going to be great, because this episode was when we really got to know Kelvin. But Edie's character, so far she's been one note. I want to be considered a legitimate gemstone just like everyone else. And to be honest, by the fourth episode, I was really hungering for something more than just that one note. We again only got that one note after the first episode, where they hinted that she's more savvy than you think by hiding money and all that stuff. So I'm ready for more discovery on that.
Looks like from the trailer for next week that we're going to get John Goodman next week. Possibly, looks like a flashbacky kind of episode. So you might have to wait another week for that, but I'm looking forward to that too. I definitely want to see the Judy story.
Yeah, I can't think of anything I'm more excited to watch on television than the Righteous Gemstones.
I'll be honest, last night I started watching Preacher, stopped it, and was like, you know what? I might fall asleep at the end of this 90-minute block of television. I'd rather fall asleep during Preacher than the Righteous Gemstones, and I watched the Righteous Gemstones first.
Yeah, I did the same thing. I watched Righteous. It was late enough that I knew I could either watch one or the other. So I watched Gemstones last night, and then this morning it was Preacher.
Well, let's shall we transition to talking about Preacher then?
Yeah. So we got 2 episodes here. Yet 406, just more of the meandering same, at least we had Tulip and Cass together, but I don't know, just everything. That was when we had a shot but on the run Jesse Custer. I did enjoy the 1970s cop stuff that they did.
That was great. That was good classic Preacher. I like that a lot.
Yeah, and they
and then Cassidy doing his American accent.
Yes, that was all fun, and I did enjoy that for what it was. And then after that, it was kind of a lot of nothing. And then even you get to the end where they're all going to the place that God has set up that clearly is a trap, and then they figure out it's a trap, and then Jesse Custer dies, and I'm like, I don't even know if I believe he's dead.
I mean, he's dead in the same way that we had a character get sent to hell, right? Like, I mean,
that's true. That's true. But of course, the nature of the show allows us to do whatever. However, 407. Oh my gosh, that was pretty
Started
great.
To bring him back, right?
Yeah. That whole temptation of taking the throne for God, and what a blasphemy it would be, and it's the most horrific thing in the world. And then he figures out that he's in hell, and I'm like, great. That was a fun enough twist, because I actually did believe maybe for a second that he went to heaven, because maybe he's
funny.
He's
when
saved.
I saw the little girl with the fishing rod, I'm like, oh, this is hell. This looks just like the kind of simulation that they did that we saw in the earlier season. And then when the angel showed up, they got me. I was like, oh, but then why would the angel be there? That's weird. And then of course I'm like, oh, of course he's not really there, right? Or is he?
Well, and then they get you a third time with the, oh, no, you're in hell, but this offer is very real.
But the offer is still valid.
And it sounds super gross. And then, like, when you get to the end, God wiping out humanity to go for 3.0, credible threat. He definitely wiped out the dinosaurs.
He's done it before, right?
Definitely flooded everyone. I'm genuinely curious where this is going to land. I think there's a chance that Jesse just takes the throne and is just like, look, man, you weren't very good at this. Like, I got it.
And there were also, we're back to some moments that are even better in the thinking about, like describing the fact that Hitler is trying to talk Jesus into being the Messiah.
Yeah, which, by the way, we've seen a fair bit of manipulation skills, that Hitler, which makes me think that he's got an agenda.
Yeah, maybe. And then the undercover cop who's about to report the Grail conspiracy, and then Julie Emery or Laura Featherstone reveals. I mean, I knew that was her in that barista disguise.
Oh, that beard didn't fool
Yeah.
you?
Well, I didn't want to assume that you weren't fooled, but but yeah, I mean, I assume that will turn into something else, because I was like, oh, are they going to bust the Grail? But then no, I guess they're not. So I don't know. That
Yeah,
was also in that 70s cop vein, right? With that whole phone conversation.
yeah, it's a bit all over the map, but again, that's Preacher for you. At least, man, I'd hate to say it, but almost everything up until 407 has kind of been a waste of time. Just, I haven't really.
I feel like Tulip's car has not had traction until episode 7. And then suddenly the rubber met the road and we started rolling again.
Yeah. Yep, I agree.
We got 3 more episodes of Preacher, if you're keeping track. Fear of the Lord is the next one, September 15th, Overture the 22nd, and then End of the World, September 29th. And that's all we have left of Preacher. It's only 3 more episodes.
Yeah, I can't believe I'm saying this, but I'm glad it's ending, because if after those first 3 seasons, if you told me I could have 4 more seasons, but they had to look like season 4, I'd rather we just tie a bow on this one and say,
yeah. I'm glad that this episode started to feel like it gained some momentum, because a strong last 3 episodes will make me feel fine about this season.
Yep, agreed.
All right, let's talk about extras. Episode 4 of season 2, which stars Chris Martin as Chris Martin of Coldplay.
I mean, it was a fine, if silly. The whole joke on that is like, can you freaking believe that we got Chris Martin to do this?
Well, and after David Bowie, you know, it's not like, oh, Chris Martin sang some stuff for us on extras. It's like, well, David Bowie like composed a whole song ripping apart Ricky Gervais. Like, how are you going to top David Bowie? But it was still good. And I like that they poked fun at those sort of like contractual obligation appearances where it's like, well, we have to work Chris Martin into the script somehow. How do we do it?
Yeah, it's good. I increasingly enjoy the exploration of all the behind the scenes stuff and the tropes. And you're like, well, no, you have to. It's going to be this kind of episode. And
I like how they get everyone, including Stephen Fry in this episode, to be the worst version of themselves, too.
Yeah. Wow. I forgot that Stephen Fry was in there. I wonder if I even recognized him.
Well, he was the one who won the award that
oh shoot, that's right, this is the episode with the award ceremony.
It's almost like two different episodes. You've got Chris Martin going on, and then you have the BAFTA awards going on.
And the BAFTA awards, I would love to know kind of how they shot that, because you can kind of tell that some is footage.
The same thing. I was like, that looks like they're really in the BAFTA place, right?
Well, and who knows, maybe it's the kind of thing that the show had enough heat that they were actually able to shoot at the BAFTAs, you know, just on the same set, either before or after. You know, they fill everything in the background with appropriately enough extras and then shoot those scenes, and then the ceremony itself happens. No, that was great. Positively painful. Like, just everything going awry. Like, that was classic cringe humor.
And then, it probably could be lost on a lot of U.S. listeners, or viewers, but the sort of like, he dated a woman, he lost his virginity to a woman who looked like Ronnie Corbett, and then having Ronnie Corbett show up, and then Ronnie Corbett taking drugs in a stall, and then Andy getting stuck in the stall and being banned from the BAFTAs. He could never win or attend a BAFTA again, which is silly, but it's funny.
But also, you know, it's like the last thing he ever expected was for this curse of a show, this monstrosity that he's grown to hate, that was originally something that he loved dearly. And then he finds out that there's a chance that the artistic recognition that he had always craved might be possible because of it. And of course, not so much.
No. Now, we only have 2 episodes of extras left. Next episode is Sir Ian McKellen, which I feel like, you know, we've seen Patrick Stewart. I can't wait to see what they do with Sir Ian McKellen. But the last episode is Jonathan Ross. And if the pattern here is to take good people, like I consider Patrick Stewart and Sir Ian McKellen to be pretty good people, and make them the worst versions of themselves, Jonathan Ross is already considered by many to be the worst version of himself. I'm fascinated with how they're going to treat that.
Hey man, don't talk about my friend at Wassy like that. We go back.
Right. I maybe they'll just make him a prince. Like just someone who behind the scenes is just a gem.
Well, I mean, what's funny is factually that's actually exactly how he is, because you know he was the host of Penn and Teller Fool Us when I was on, and he was an absolute gem and real easy to work with, and I don't know, it was a lot of fun.
But his television persona is, you know, somebody who causes trouble. So yeah,
right.
Now this will be interesting to see. Apparently that Jonathan Ross episode also has an appearance by Robert De Niro. So I'm looking forward to that.
Cool.
All right, folks, that is it for Spoilerin Time. Thank you so much for supporting the show and allowing us to do this so that we can be your pals who talk about the stuff that we're watching. And if you want to keep that coming, of course, support us as much as you can at patreon.com/Cordkillers. We'll spoil you again next time.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.